Hello everyone, it's Lindsay, and today is going to probably be a little bit longer of a video, so just heads up, push pause, grab a snack, grab something to drink, get comfy. We are diving into the Word Nerd kit from Illustrated Faith. I do have an unboxing, I'll link it down below. That unboxing is very, very detailed. I kind of go over some of the stuff that we're going to go over today as far as using concordances and just all this kind of extra stuff as we do word studies. So Word Nerd, the kit this month, does not have a devotional. It's all about studying words and studying the Hebrew and Greek roots and things like this, and just where they appear in different scriptures, and it's just all word studies. So the kit does come with this fun little booklet that kind of gives you little spaces to break down the words, and I went ahead and did a session on dwell just on my own. I didn't film it, just to kind of get a feel for what works for me, the process, and how I'm going to go about it. That way I could kind of share with you guys. There definitely is no like right or wrong way to tackle this, but I just wanted to share kind of my steps and how I do it, and maybe that'll be helpful for some of you who might be struggling. So it can be all fun and stickers and stamps and, you know, chipboard pieces and fun things like that if you want to, but it does not have to be like that. And I'll kind of show you how I work through this and add in all the pretty bits. So I actually have had to bring in some additional resources to use with this, but it's good. It's causing me to use up some of my supplies. So for today's video, we are going to be going through my word study of the word confidence. And this came about from a sermon that I was listening to. Whenever I'm at the gym, I try to listen to sermons. The tough thing about that is I can't take notes while I'm working out, but I do come home if it's a study that I want to take notes on and just re-listen to it. And that's what I've done with this one. I'll link the sermon down below. It is from our mother church. We are kind of like a church plant from a bigger church, and they have their sermons online, and so that's frequently where I will listen to sermons. And so they had this sermon a couple weeks ago titled The Temptation of Confidence, and so I am using the Written on My Heart Bible Study Notes book from Shauna Noel. I think this came out maybe last year. I will have everything linked down below for you guys, and I had not used it yet. It was just sitting on my shelf, and I think I had intended on going and getting it spiral bound, and it just never happened. So I pulled it out. I went ahead and listened to the sermon, took my notes just like I would do for any sermon study. Nothing special. I wasn't trying to think of the word study while I was doing the sermon notes, but as this sermon kind of went about, you know, it's all about confidence, and we're talking about this word confidence, and thought, oh, that would be a great word to do a word study on. And this one may be kind of a beast to do for this video because it kind of took me down some rabbit trails, but I decided to do the video that way. If you guys run across the same thing that I've run across, this might be helpful for you. So the focus verse that they did the sermon on was 1 Corinthians 10, 6 through 13. Now the word confidence doesn't appear anywhere in that passage. That's just kind of their home passage for where the sermon was going. But he did point out Hebrews 11:1, and that says, because I'm going to read it in the translation they read it in, because this is what I ran into. So I frequently read from the ESV translation, but this church uses the NIV translation, and the Strong's Concordance uses the King James Version translation. So this might be something that you guys run into as well. So if you go, so I am using the Blue Letter Bible app. I talked about this in the unboxing of the Word Nerd kit, and so I've got the app open on my tablet. I'm going to Hebrews 11, verse 1. In the ESV translation, it says, "Now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen." But if you read it in the NIV translation, it says, "Now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see." So this word confidence is not in the ESV translation, it's in the NIV translation. But now if I hop on over to the King James Version, it's going to say now faith is the substance. So we've now had substance, assurance, and confidence. This sermon is using it in the NIV translation, which gives you the word confidence. The King James Version gives you the word substance. So this is going to kind of give you an idea of why it's so important to study and read from multiple different translations, because this will come up. So let's go ahead. We'll keep it in the King James Version, and we're looking at that word substance, which also means confidence, which I learned through my brief study before I sat down for this. So in the Blue Letter Bible app, I kind of share in that unboxing video how to get into the information that we need for the word study. So if you just tap on the verse on any device, you can also do this on a desktop computer. I think you just have to click on the verse, I think. Maybe right-click on the verse and it'll give you the same panel. We're going to come up here to interlinear and concordance. And that's going to take us over to where we can pull out the words. So this particular Bible app doesn't just give you individual words. It breaks down the entire verse and then gives you the Strong's information here. So we're going to come down to the substance, because remember that also means confidence. And that gives us Strong's G5287. So if I get there again, tap on where it says G5287, that's going to pull up all the information that I need to fill out my word study. So one thing I have chosen to do is actually work in two separate traveler's notebooks. So I'm working in just a blank traveler's notebook. I'll list some options down below for you guys. If you're looking for these, you can also make them yourself. And this is just an extra step. If you're not worried about the pretty part and you're just wanting to take notes, you can work directly in this booklet. If you're wanting to work in like the pretty version, it kind of helps to jot down all your messiness in here first and then move it over to the Word Nerd booklet. So that's what I did when I did my word study on dwell. So I did go ahead and do some stamping just so that I kind of keep myself, so I can tell what the word is. But now I just kind of go through and I'm messy. I take down the main verse that I'm doing. I go ahead and work off of all this information that I need, and I might jot down some extra notes, jot down some extra verses, things like that might not necessarily fit in the boxes in the Word Nerd booklet. And then I can take this and move it over to the Word Nerd booklet using stickers and stamps and, making sure that things are spelled right and all that goodness. So we're going to go ahead and kind of work through this process together. I am going to stick with that verse, Hebrews 11:1, and then I will have to decide how I'm going to do that, because I do want to make a point to, the word confidence is the word that I am wanting to kind of focus on, is that version confidence, but obviously it is the word substance is the actual closest translated word, so we're going to have to make a note of that somewhere when we come over here to the Word Nerd side. So if we start here, I went ahead and wrote out the verse, and I will probably go ahead and just put you on fast forward and kind of talk over as I go through each one of these pieces. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this on camera, so I may need to put in some little slides or something like that for you guys. So let me go ahead and put you on fast forward and we'll start working through this kind of study along together. Okay, so this is one of the nice things about working in a separate traveler's notebook as well, is here I'm going to go ahead and write that verse, Hebrews 11:1, from the ESV translation and the King James, and then in my notebook I actually use the NIV translation. So the notebook really only has room for one, so this way I can get them all written down and kind of be able to see how that word is used differently, or different words are used in that place between the different translations. So again, this is not saying one translation is better than another in this instance. It's just pointing out the differences between them. So now I'm hopping over to the Blue Letter Bible app and I'm just going to start filling things in. Pulling that Strong's concordance number, that's that G5287. In case you didn't know, the letter in front is going to be a G or an H. It's G for Greek and H for Hebrew. So part of the Bible is translated from Hebrew and part of it is translated from Greek. And so that's going to tell you where it's coming from. And then you're just going to go in and write out the word, which is hypostasis. I want to say hypostasis, because I have a medical background, and so that's how I would read that, is hypostasis, but the correct pronunciation is hypostasis. And so this is the nice thing about working in an app versus a physical book of the Strong's Concordance, is that the app, in both the Blue Letter Bible app and the other one that I showed in my unboxing, allow you to listen to the pronunciation. So you can do that, and then you just are breaking apart the syllables and the pronunciation and what part of speech it is. So I'm just going through and taking all those notes. Right here, what I'm looking at is the root word, and this is where I went down kind of another little rabbit trail that was really interesting. So the root word for this particular word is actually a compound of the word under and the word stand. So not understand, but the word under and the word stand. And so they had a little phrase that said a setting under. And then when I go into the definition, it's going to say that which has foundation, comma, is firm. So like a firm foundation. And I thought this is so interesting, is that a foundation is a setting that's underneath us. So you're just getting to see all those connections between, the different root words. And here it kind of gives you both those Strong's Concordance numbers for the word under and the word stand. So then you can go and look both of those up and have an understanding of what those mean. And so then over here, I'm writing how many times this version of the word confidence appears. And it only appears 5 times. 2 of those are the word confidence. 1 is confident. 1 is the word substance, like we saw here in the King James Version of Hebrews 11:1. And then 1 instance is the word person, which guys, this was mind-blowing for me, and one of the awesome things about doing a word study like this. So one of the cross-referenced verses is Hebrews 1:3. It says, who, being the brightness of his glory, this is speaking about Jesus, and the express image of his person, that word person is the same hypostasis that we see here in these other verses we've studied. So, and the express image of his person, and upholding all things by the word of his power, when he had by himself purged our sins, sat down on the right hand of the majesty on high. So this word person is the same word confidence, substance, however you want to look at it. It's saying that Jesus is not only someone who we can have confidence in, but he is confidence. He is a foundation, a firm foundation. He is a firm standing underneath us. I mean, that is just amazing to me how that connection is found by breaking down and looking at these words kind of coming from their original translations and seeing them in these other verses. It's just super, super awesome. So I took down 3 cross-reference verses. There's plenty in there. When I'm trying to pick which one I'm going to do, I usually just pick the 3 that are easiest for me to understand how that word that I'm studying is being used in those verses. So some of them you would have to read like all the passage around that particular verse to really have an understanding of the context of that verse. So if that makes sense, I'm trying to just pick easy verses for my cross references. It's like cheating, I guess. So I've set aside that traveler's notebook. Now I'm jumping in and doing the pretty part. So it's just a ginormous mess in my craft space when I'm doing this part, because I have pulled out, you can see off to the left there, 50,000 different stamp sets, a bunch of different alphabet stickers. This one where I'm stamping out the word confidence down here is a foam stamp. I had this in my stash for a long time. Illustrated Faith is just carrying this in their shop now. If it's still available, I will link it down below. If it's not available for them, I will link it from wherever I can find it. But this is a great time to use up your stash. So I'm just pulling out whatever alpha stickers I have. If they are mixed matched, it's okay. If I have to just cut out the outline, like that black alpha that you can see kind of in the top right hand corner, that's okay if it's just the outline. That black alpha at the top is actually one from a past Illustrated Faith kit back when they were with Dayspring years and years and years ago, when they were doing the zipper pouches. That's where that alpha came from. So bust out your stash. I'm using some printable labels. Just mixing and matching. This is a Books of the Bible stamp that Dayspring was carrying. So again, if it still is there, I will link it down below. I very rarely have used the stamp set because it's kind of tedious when I'm doing my regular Bible journaling, but it's nice for a project like this where I can have just some variance in the types of stamps I'm using, the type of stickers I'm using. I try to change up the colors so that my eye kind of bounces around. I mix in my own handwriting. If it's an area where stickers or stamps are going to be too big, then I just go ahead and use my own handwriting to put that in there. So it ends up being messy, and that's okay. And I know some of you are not going to want to go through this process of the like stamping and stickers and things like that, but I would encourage you to try it because it actually, for me, I'm a hands-on learner. I always take notes, even if it's something that I know. The physical act of taking the notes, putting my hand in action while I'm studying something helps it stick in my mind. And the same thing goes for this. So the act of laying out in, each individual stamp, each individual sticker just kind of helps cement these ideas and this information in my brain. And I'm not going to say that 50 years from now, I'm even going to remember how to pronounce hypostasis because in my mind it's hypostasis. And from the medical world, like if you're hypoglycemic, you are low blood sugar or you are under the blood sugar that you should have. So hypo or hupo, I guess. And then stasis is like stagnant, even line. And so that would be like firm foundation. It's set, is a set place. It's static. It's the same. And so I guess that looking at it that way and kind of going from the knowledge that I already have really helps me better understand this word and the way that it's translated, if that makes sense. So I've never done word studies like this, and it's just awesome how it just kind of pulls together all these different ideas that you might have or things that you've learned in the past and really just kind of brings it to life and brings it all together. It really helps you kind of understand even how something was translated. I mean, think of how brilliant these people were that had to translate the Bible into multiple translations. It's just mind-blowing to me. So I'm just going through, like I said, just using a variety of stamps, sometimes a stamp set that came with the kit, like I did here for those cross-referencing. For these alpha stickers, these are from By the Well for God, and they are a clear sticker, and so they're kind of difficult to see on this spread. So I just go in and just add a little bit of pen detail to help it stand out. If it's going to be a really long word, then I try to reach for those label letters versus, some of the bigger alphas. You just have to do what works for you. It's a little bit cluttered. It's a little messy. It's not like, painted florals and all pretty. It's kind of eclectic and crazy, but it works for me, and it kind of helps me, like I said, understand it and commit it to memory, I guess. For the note section, I'm not always putting the same thing down for the notes. So on the left-hand side of the page, I just kind of further brought out that idea of the compound words for the root words, and how, a foundation is like being under you, a setting underneath you is a foundation, and just kind of further expanded on that. And then for the note section here that I'm writing out, I'm just making a point to write out how many times this word occurs, because I thought that was very interesting and the different ways that it occurs. What I showed you really quickly here, I know it flew by, was that there was a little bit of a misprint with the stamp set that comes in the kit. This circle stamp that says, "Thankful for this truth," has an extra T on the word truth. So just take a really sharp pair of small scissors and you can snip out that extra T. It does not hurt the stamp. It doesn't cry. I promise. Stamp surgery is totally okay. Just be really careful and you can cut it out and that stamp is just fine, good to go, not a problem. And one thing I didn't mention in the unboxing, I did mention it about the heart stamp fits in that circular stamp, but somebody pointed out to me that the star fits in that circular stamp. So that's kind of a fun way to add little pops of color. Had to have little Miss Bailey on there. I did stamp her on a piece of white cardstock just so she wouldn't get lost in all the craziness that's already happening on this page. And then I'm just going to fill out this blank space. Once I get in all the important stuff, I come back in and that's when I add all of the embellishment, any extra stamping, fill in any blank spaces. Rather than trying to add that in as I go, I just find it easier to do it after the fact. It's not needed, it's not necessary, but if you want to use up some of those stickers that come in the kit or, some of the product that you have, this would be the time to kind of throw in, maybe some printables you have laying around or some die cuts you have laying around and stick those into the blank areas. For the verse, I did go ahead and just type it out on my typewriter on some cardstock, and I'm just going to layer up a little bit of washi underneath it. I found that it's easier for me to type just because my handwriting is big and loopy and messy, and so I don't know that I'd be able to fit the verse all in there if I hand wrote it out. And that is going to be it. So I really hope that this video kind of helps you understand the process for this word study. If you have tips and tricks for easier ways or different ways to do it, please leave those down below for me. If you have questions, leave those down below for me. Check out the description box down below. I will have links to everything that I talked about and used in the video today. Give this video a thumbs up if it was helpful. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed. And until next time, thank you so much. Bye-bye.